Don't ever sing at night. That's the first thing the elders will tell you. Because when the world sleeps, the night listens. And if your voice rises beneath the moon, clear, sweet, and alive, something out there will hear you. Something that hasn't breathed in a very long time. They say some songs don't belong to the living. They belong to the dark, to the spirits that drift between this world and the next. When you sing after midnight, your song becomes a thread, and the night pulls on it. You'll think it's your echo, but it isn't. It's the night singing back. So if you ever feel the urge to sing under the moon, hold your breath. Stay quiet, because once the night remembers your voice, but one girl didn't listen. She sang, and something answered. Before we begin this story, make sure you subscribe, like, and leave a comment below, because tonight's tale might keep you from ever singing at night again. In a quiet village by the river, there lived a girl named Rita. She was beautiful, stubborn, and blessed, with a voice that could make even the spirits weep. From the time she was little, Rita's songs filled the air like sunshine after rain. The old women would smile and say, "Ah, that child. She carries honey in her throat." But no one was prouder than her grandmother, Old Mama Ejiki, the village's living memory, keeper of stories and warnings. "Rita, stop singing at night. The spirits are awake after midnight, and they love sweet voices like yours." Her grandmother will always warned her. Her words hung heavy in the air. But Rita only laughed. She was young. She was ambitious. And she dreamed of leaving the village, of becoming famous. Her best friend Amara dreamed the same dream. But Rita's heart held something else too, a quiet envy. She wanted her voice to outshine everyone's. And so, when the moon climbed into the sky that night, Rita waited. Her mother and grandmother were asleep. The fire had died down. And outside, the world was still. She stepped into the moonlight, barefoot, trembling with excitement, and whispered to herself, "Just one song. No one will know." She whispers to herself. Her song floated between the trees, over the huts, across the silent river. Even the wind stopped to listen. The crickets fell quiet. The dogs tucked their faces beneath their paws. But the night was listening too. That night, the moon rose swollen and white, like an eye watching the village. Rita lay on her mat, eyes wide open. Sleep refused to come. Her heart was restless, dancing with the same song that had lived inside her all day. She turned toward her mother's sleeping figure by the hearth. The dim firelight painted shadows across the room, shadows that seemed to move with her thoughts. She knew it was wrong. She knew the warning, but her voice, her gift, begged to be free. Rita rose quietly, tiptoeing toward the door. She moved past her grandmother's mat, the old woman snoring softly, beads glinting in her hair. Just as she reached for the latch, her mother caught her going out. "Rita, where do you think you're going?" Rita froze. Her throat went dry. Her mother sat up, eyes glistening in the firelight, half anger, half fear. Stammering, I just wanted to get some air, Mama. The night is beautiful," she said. "You think I don't know what you're planning? You want to sing again? At this hour?" Her mother said angrily. Her mother stood, tightening her wrapper. The door trembled in the wind as if listening. Her mother looks into her with a breaking voice and said, "Rita, you must never sing when the moon is watching. Not in this house, not in this land. There are things that hunger for sound, and they follow sweet voices." Rita, reply uneasy. "But Mama, it's just a song." "No." Her mother's voice cracked like a whip. You will not go out tonight. Her mother barred the door with a heavy stick, pressing her back against it. Just then, Mama Ejike stirred on her mat. Grandmother, sleepy, trembling. What's going on? Mother answered. She wanted to go outside to sing. The grandmother's eyes widened. I felt it in my bones. She turned to Rita, voice trembling but fierce. Child, do you want to end like Neka, the girl who sang to the wind? They never found her tongue. Rita's heart thudded. Her mother and grandmother sat together before the door, silent sentinels keeping her caged inside. That night, the hut was a prison. But outside, the moon shone brighter than ever silver, calling, inviting. And Rita lay awake, her song trapped behind her teeth. Hours passed. The fire burned low. A lizard scuttled across the floor. That night, she made sure her mother and grandmother was deeply asleep. She'd sneak outside again, barefoot, past her mother's door, past her grandmother's sleeping mat, and into the moonlight. The moon hung higher now, pale and watchful. Rita stood beneath it, her bare feet pressed into cool sand. For a moment, everything felt peaceful, the kind of peace that hides before something breaks. Her song rose into the air, slow, hesitant. It floated over the huts, over the trees, until it met the silence itself. And then, she stopped. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She turned nothing, only trees and silver light. She laughed nervously, forcing the sound out. Just the wind, she whispered. But the wind doesn't wear footsteps. Her throat went tight. Every instinct screamed, run. Then she heard it, a low hum, deep and old, weaving through the night. It was her melody, but slower, and it was coming from behind her. Rita froze. The air turned cold. The hairs on her arms stood. Keep singing, Rita. Her eyes widened. She spun nothing there, only shadows rippling like smoke. And then footsteps again, faster now, splashing softly through the puddles near the riverbank. Something was coming. She dropped her song mid-note and ran, bare feet pounding the sand, breath slicing the air. She reached the hut, slammed the door shut, and pressed her back against it, trembling. Inside silence, only the fire's dying crackle and her own racing heart. And the voice came again. I love your voice. Rita stifled a scream, then stumbled toward her mat. She lay down, clutching her wrapper tight, pretending to sleep, eyes wide, body shaking. Her mother and grandmother still slept, unaware. Rita lay frozen, staring at the ceiling, listening as the footsteps circled the hut once, twice, then faded into the night. When the quiet finally returned, tears slipped down her cheeks. She swore right there never to sing at night again. She closed her eyes, whispering a prayer to any spirit still listening. And at last, exhaustion won. But outside, the night was still awake. The day came bright and ordinary. Sunlight spilled over the rooftops. Children laughed somewhere by the river. And for a moment, it felt like the night had never happened. Rita woke up to the smell of wood smoke and yam porridge. Her mother was humming as she cooked, the same mother who had cried out in fear the night before. Her grandmother sat outside, weaving palm fronds, murmuring to herself like old women do when they pray. Everything was fine, nothing broken, nothing strange. Even the air felt clean. Rita tried to shake away the memory of that voice. She told herself it had been a dream, just a trick of the wind, or maybe her imagination. Her mother smiled at her. Eat, my daughter. You look pale. Rita smiled back or tried to, but deep inside, something in her refused to relax. The day passed like a sigh. By evening, the air grew heavy. The crickets began too early, and the sky turned that strange red, the kind that comes before a storm, or something worse. Her grandmother glanced at the horizon and whispered, "The night smells strange tonight." Her mother crossed herself with oil, sprinkled salt at the doorway, and barred the door again. And he said, "Tonight, we all sleep early." Rita lay on her mat, watching the fire's glow crawl up the walls. Each flicker painted shapes that looked almost alive, faces, shadows, figures that moved when she blinked. Outside, the wind changed. It carried a hum, faint, deep, almost like someone breathing through the trees. Rita sat up, straining to listen. But when she held her breath, silence. She lay back down. Her heartbeat slowed, her eyes closed. And as the last ember of fire went dark, the whole world seemed to pause, like the night itself was waiting for something. Sometimes, the scariest nights are the quiet ones. Midnight, the hour when even the spirits hold their breath. The fire in the hut had died hours ago. The air was cold, too still heavy, like something unseen had filled the room. Rita's eyes snapped open. No dream. Just silence. Too perfect. Too sharp. Her grandmother was asleep. Her mother, too breathing slow and steady. But beneath their breaths, she heard it. It was a song. Her song. The same melody she had sung under the moon. Soft, haunting. And now it was inside the house. Rita sat up slowly, her skin prickling. She looked around. Nothing. The room was wrapped in shadows. Then drip. She turned. By the door, a small puddle shimmered in the moonlight. Beside it, footprints. Wet. A bare, leading from the door. Straight to her mat. Her chest tightened. She wanted to scream, but her voice was gone, trapped somewhere behind fear. The footprints stopped right beside her mat. She felt it before she saw it. A cold presence bending near her face. Her eyes darted toward the window, a faint reflection in the cracked mirror. It was her face, but the reflection blinked before she did. She gasped, pulling her wrapper over her head. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Please, please, go away." The humming stopped. For one long heartbeat, nothing moved. Then a whisper came, right beside her ear.
"Keep singing, Rita."
Rita froze, clutching her wrapper until her knuckles turned white. She shut her eyes tight, praying, trembling, and forced herself not to breathe too loud. Slowly, slowly, the house fell silent again. The wet footprints gleamed once in the moonlight, then dried as if they'd never been there. When she finally dared to open her eyes, everything was still. Her mother and grandmother slept peacefully, as if nothing had happened. But Rita knew. The night had found her again, and it wasn't finished. The haunting had begun. Days passed. But Rita was no longer the same girl. The laughter in her voice was gone. Her songs, once bright as dawn, died somewhere behind her lips. She stopped playing by the river, stopped helping her mother grind yam or fetch water, stopped smiling. Her mother would ask, "Rita, are you sick?" And Rita would force a smile, shaking her head. But her eyes told another story. At night, she couldn't sleep. Each time she closed her eyes, she heard it, that humming, that same voice, wrapping around her dreams like a snake. Sometimes it sang to her from far away. Sometimes it whispered right beside her ear. Her dreams were filled with water, cold black water, and faces beneath it, mouthing her name without sound. She'd wake up gasping, drenched in sweat, clutching her throat like she couldn't breathe. And in the corner of her room, sometimes she thought she saw it. A figure standing in the shadows, tall and still, its eyes faintly glowing like embers. But when she blinked, it would vanish. Rita began to hide. She refused to be alone. She followed her grandmother everywhere, pretending to help, but her eyes never stopped darting to the corners, to the windows, to the door. Even the sound of the wind through the palm trees made her shiver. Small candles at night, but they'd always flicker out by themselves. She couldn't eat. The smell of food made her sick. Her mother scolded her. Her grandmother prayed. But Rita only stared at the ground, rocking quietly like a lost child. The neighbors began to whisper. They said she was cursed, that her shadow moved differently from her body, that sometimes at dusk they'd hear her voice singing, even when she swore she hadn't opened her mouth. And the nights grew worse. Rita no longer dared to sleep. Each time her eyelids fell, the same nightmare returned. The river, the dark figure, and her own reflection smiling back at her with black, dripping eyes. She'd wake up crying silently, biting her hand so her mother wouldn't hear. Because deep down, she knew if she told them what she'd seen, they'd think she'd lost her mind. But she hadn't lost her mind. The night was taking it, piece by piece, dream by dream. And though she promised never to sing again, sometimes, when she thought she was alone, her lips would move on their own. The spirit was still with her, listening, smiling, waiting for her to sing again. Fear had become her shadow, and in that shadow, something was breathing. By the fourth night, Rita hadn't slept. Not truly. Her eyes were hollow, her skin pale as if the night had drained her color away. She sat on her mat, knees to her chest, staring at the door. Every creak of the wind made her flinch. Her mother had stopped asking questions. Her grandmother only muttered prayers. And in that hut, the air felt wrong. The humming returned before midnight. But this time it wasn't outside. It came from her. At first, she didn't even notice. Her lips moved on their own, sounds slipping through like breath, gentle, broken, beautiful, and not hers anymore. Her eyes widened. She clamped her hand over her mouth, but the sound kept coming. It was as if something inside her was singing through her. She tried to scream, but when she opened her mouth, the spirit sang louder. Her body trembled violently. Her eyes rolled back. And in the flickering moonlight, her shadow stretched, longer, taller, twisting across the wall until it touched the ceiling. Her grandmother stirred. Her mother woke to the sound of her daughter's voice. Beautiful, yes, but wrong. Too deep, too layered, like 10 people singing through one throat. Rita, stop. Please stop. Rita's body went limp. She fell sideways, eyes wide open, lips still moving silently now. Her mother rushed to her, shaking her shoulders. But when she looked into Rita's eyes, she saw something else looking back. For a heartbeat, the thing inside her smiled. Then, the candles blew out. A voice filled the hut, deep, echoing, almost satisfied. She called me again, and now she will never stop. Her mother screamed, clutching her daughter's face. Her grandmother began to chant, shaking her cowrie beads in the dark. The room erupted in chaos, whispers, drum beats, sobs. And Rita's tears fell silently down her cheeks as her lips kept moving, still singing even when no sound came out. Her body belonged to her, but her voice did not. They say that night, even the moon turned its face away. After that night, nothing was the same again. The house stopped being a home. It became something else, something watching. The air grew cold even at noon. Footprints appeared on the mud floor, wet, long, and too large to be human. Sometimes barefoot, sometimes clawed. Every morning, the mother would sweep them away, and by evening, they would return leading straight to Rita's mat. And at night, they heard it. A voice humming through the roof that wasn't Rita's. A deep voice, echoing her old songs, the ones she used to sing when she was happy. The grandmother whispers, "The spirit of the night, it has found its home." They tried everything. Doorway, charcoal at the corners. They prayed. They burned herbs. They chanted her name backward, tied charms around her wrist. But the more they prayed, the worse it got. The voice would answer their prayers with laughter. Cold, playful, like a child mocking its elders. And Rita wasn't Rita anymore. She no longer ate. She no longer spoke. She only stared at the river through the window as if it whispered her name. Every night, exactly at midnight, she would stand. Her eyes blank, her feet bare. She would walk out of the hut without saying a word, past her mother, past her grandmother, and head straight toward the water, pulling her back. But she was strong, too strong for a girl so small. Her mother terrified, crying, "Rita, stop! Don't go! Please!" And then, the moment her feet touched the water, she began to sing. It was her old melody, but now it sounded wrong. Heavy, hollow, like something was singing through her lungs, using her body as an instrument. And behind her, the river shimmered, rising and swirling like it was alive. Her mother screamed. Her grandmother fell to her knees, chanting ancient words, words even she barely remembered. But the spirit only laughed again, a sound like thunder cracking beneath the earth. The next morning, they found her sitting by the riverbank, wet, shaking, eyes empty, and when they asked what happened, she whispered, "I didn't walk there. Something pulled me." She cried and swore she had fought it, that invisible hands had dragged her feet, that the water called her name in hundreds of voices, but no one believed her. Not until the next night, when she went missing again. They found her inside the river, waist deep, eyes closed, her mouth moving, bubbles rising from her lips. When her grandmother touched her shoulder, Rita turned and smiled. But the smile wasn't hers. It was too wide, too calm. And when she finally spoke, her voice was two voices in one. "I told you, the night loves to sing." They dragged her home that night, wrapped her in white cloth, prayed till sunrise. But even while they prayed, she kept humming, softly, faintly, as if mocking the living. The elders refused to come near. Birds stopped landing on their roof. Children crossed to the other side of the road. They said a curse like that doesn't haunt a person. It haunts a bloodline. And somewhere in the darkness, someone or something was still singing with her. They said the night spirit could only be silenced by one person, the old priestess of the shadow forest, a woman no one had seen in years. A woman people said wasn't quite human anymore. And so, one moonless night, Rita's grandmother began her journey. She carried a calabash of palm oil, a dead white hen, and a piece of cloth from Rita's bed, still wet with river water. Behind her, the night whispered her name, but she didn't turn back. Her grandmother praying softly, trembling. "Spirits of my mothers, walk with me. Protect me from what lives in the dark." The deeper she went, the quieter the world became. No wind, no crickets, only the sound of her feet sinking into soft, wet ground. Then she saw it. faces carved into tree trunks, hundreds of them, mouth open as if screaming. The forest was alive, breathing, and every step she took, it watched her. They said the forest of the priestess moved on its own, that if your heart wasn't pure, it would lead you in circles until you walked yourself to death. She tried to stay on the path, but the path was gone. Now there was only fog, cold and thick, swallowing her torchlight. And in that fog, a voice whispered, "Why do you come here, old woman?" The grandmother froze. The voice came from everywhere. She held up the calabash. "My granddaughter is cursed. Please, the night spirit has taken her voice. I beg you," she said with a trembling voice. The voice near her ear whispered in a thicker echo voice, "The night takes what it's owed." She turned, and there, standing among the fog, was a tall figure wrapped in black cloth, its face hidden, touching the ground. The grandmother fell to her knees. The priestess had come, or what was left of her. Priestess, calm, distant, she said, "You have brought her scent here. I can smell the river on it. The spirit that sings in her throat is ancient, older than the trees, older than you." Grandmother, sobbing, "Please, please save her. I'll do anything." The priestess asked, "Anything?" The priestess bent low, and the fog coiled around her like living smoke. She stretched out her hand, long, wrinkled, black with strange markings, and touched the calabash. The oil inside burst into flame without heat, burning blue. The priestess said, darkly calm, "The night spirit is jealous. It took her voice because she woke it with song. To take it back, you must offer something louder." Grandmother looked confused and said, "Louder? What do you mean?" Priestess answered, smiling beneath the veil, "Another voice, from your blood." The grandmother realized then, to free Rita, someone in the family must take her place. And before she could speak, the fog shifted. The priestess was gone. Only her voice remained, whispering through the trees. The priestess whispered, "Bring her to the water before the next full moon, or the song will never end." The grandmother stumbled out of the forest before dawn, her torch long dead, her hands shaking, the calabash still burning blue. And far away in the village, as the first rooster crowed, Rita woke from her sleep, walked to the window, and began to hum again. The curse had heard her name, and now it was waiting. The full moon rose swollen, red, and watching. The river shimmered like a blade under its light. That night, the village was silent. Even the dogs refused to bark. Only one hut still had a fire burning Rita's. Her grandmother sat before the flame, eyes hollow, hands trembling over a calabash filled with red powder and herbs. The words of the priestess echoed in her head. "Bring her to the water before the full moon ends, or the song will never end." Her mother stood at the doorway, crying silently. Inside, Rita sat motionless, eyes fixed on the floor, dark circles beneath her eyes, lips cracked, as though she hadn't slept in a lifetime. Then, she started humming again. Her mother covered her ears, whispering prayers. But the grandmother stood. "It's time," she said. They led her toward the river. The wind howled, bending the trees, and the moonlight followed them, casting long shadows that seemed to move on their own. When they reached the riverbank, the air was thick, wet, heavy, humming with unseen voices. The water glowed faintly blue, as if something beneath it was awake. The grandmother placed the calabash on the ground, sprinkled the red powder into the river, and whispered the priestess's words. Aya, Aya, ordered Mila. The wind screamed back. The trees bent low, their branches pointing toward the water. And Rita walked forward. Her mother tried to grab her, but she couldn't move. Something invisible held her in place. Her voice was gone, replaced by a silent scream. Rita stepped deeper, waist deep now. Her reflection rippled, but it didn't move like hers. It smiled when she didn't. The night spirit had come. Suddenly, the river exploded upward, a figure rising from it, tall and black, with a face that shimmered like wet glass. Its eyes were hollow, its mouth wide and singing without sound. The spirit echoed, she said. She called me. Now she is mine. The grandmother fell to her knees, crying out. Grandmother screamed, "Take me instead. Please, take me." The spirit turned to her. Its face split in two, revealing darkness deeper than night. The spirit murmured, "Blood for blood, voice for voice," and it pointed a finger at her chest. The grandmother gasped, her breath stolen. Her lips moved on their own as she began to sing. Her song rose soft, trembling, fading, as if the spirit was pulling her voice out thread by thread. Rita screamed, truly screamed, for the first time in weeks. She rushed forward, grabbing her grandmother's arm. But it was too late. The blue light around the old woman burst, and she went still. Her body fell, lifeless. The spirit turned, its eyes glowing brighter. The spirit echoed, "The debt is paid, the song is mine." It vanished into the river, leaving ripples glowing like embers. Rita collapsed beside her grandmother's body, shaking, crying. Her mother knelt beside them both, screaming into the night. When the dawn came, the river was calm again. The water clear, the forest still. Rita could speak again, but she never sang. She buried her grandmother near the riverbank, and from that day on, she wore a piece of white cloth around her throat. And every full moon, villagers say they still hear two voices, one young, one old, singing softly by the water. So if you ever hear singing near a river after midnight, don't go near. Don't answer. And whatever you do, don't sing back. Years passed. The story of Rita became a whisper, a tale mothers told their children to keep them inside after sunset. The river still flowed behind the village, calm by day, but strange things still happened at night. Some said they heard humming near the water when the moon was full. Some swore they saw a woman in white, sitting at the riverbank with her feet in the water, singing to the darkness. But most people didn't talk about it anymore. They just stayed away, until she came. Her name was Adaora, a bright, curious girl who had just moved into the village with her family. She loved music. She loved singing more than anything. At the new school, they told her stories about the cursed singer who lost her voice to the night. Adaora laughed. "Those are just tales," she said. "Ghosts don't live in rivers." One afternoon, she found an old box while cleaning the small hut her parents had rented. Inside were yellowed papers, a piece of white cloth tied around a small book, and a photo faded, smiling, of a girl standing by the river. Written on the back were 3 words, "My song lives." Adaora opened the book. It was full of handwritten lyrics, old songs, lullabies, folk hymns, love songs. And at the last page, a verse written in red ink. "Sing me awake when the moon is full, and I will teach you the song of forever." She smiled. And that night, when everyone was asleep, she went to the river. The moon was round and silver, casting long shadows across the bank. Adaora sat on a rock and opened the songbook. She began to hum. She froze. The sound came from the water. She laughed nervously. Maybe it's an echo. So she sang louder. The water rippled. Something stirred beneath the surface. Something that glowed faintly blue. Adaora leaned closer. And in that reflection, she didn't see herself. She saw Rita. Her eyes were empty. Her mouth was smiling. And when Adaora stopped singing, Rita didn't. Adaora stumbled backward, dropping the book into the river. The pages floated for a moment, then sank, one by one. The song stopped. The night went still. The next morning, her parents found her shoes by the riverbank, wet, muddy, and turned toward the water. But Adaora was gone. All they found was the white cloth, caught on a branch by the river, and the faint sound of humming coming from beneath the surface. And so the song lived on, passed from one voice to another, from the living to the night. Remember, if you ever find a songbook near a river, if you ever hear someone humming in the dark, walk away. Don't sing, don't listen. And above all, don't ever sing at night. They say the river still sings. Not every night, only when the moon is full and when someone with a beautiful voice walks too close. Some say Rita's spirit calls out to those who love music, pulling them closer, one note at a time. Others believe it's not her anymore, that something darker wears her voice now. Whatever the truth is, remember this: songs can carry power, and not every power should be heard. So when the night grows quiet, when the air feels heavy and the wind stops moving, don't hum, don't whisper, and for your own soul's sake, don't ever sing at night. Thank you for listening. If you survived this far, you're one of us now. If you like this story, The Curse of Rita, the song that never died, tap that like button and subscribe for more dark African folklore, where every story carries a warning. Because here, we don't just tell stories, we let the night speak.